Welcome to this module on getting to know the context for English language teaching and learning. Before diving into this module, be sure to read the assigned text within the course schedule located on our course syllabus. Our objectives for this module is to describe the various English language teaching and learning contexts, use appropriate TESOL terminology, perform a situation analysis and analyze results, and use situation analysis results to inform the teaching and learning of English. So teaching context refers to the place, the people, and the purpose of a particular language program or course. It is important to understand the teaching context an instructor works in or desires to work in because context shapes how and in what ways language should be taught and learned. At its broadest level, the geographical location of an English course impacts what variety of English will be taught and the general reasons for English study and/or acquisition. The English as a Second Language, or ESL context, refers to where English is a dominant, heritage, or official language within the country, or what is traditionally referred to as a native language. However, the field is moving away from using the term native language because it is often limiting in its scope and often fails to reflect the multilingualism that increased immigration across the world has afforded many ESL contexts. The ESL context generally refers to English studied within the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, the US and British Virgin Islands, etc. Within the ESL context, the communicative language teaching method is a popular choice because it targets all four language domains, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and because classes often contain students from a variety of first language backgrounds and proficiency levels. In the ESL context, some students do enjoy the audiolingual method, or ALM, for self-study and reinforcement. The English as an Additional Language, or EAL context, includes countries where English has been used as a lingua franca among many languages, or where it has equal status with another language, and many citizens speak it alongside one or more other languages. Often, EAL contexts are where colonialism imposed English as an official language on the local populations, or, as in the case of the European Union, it is used as an intermediary language to communicate across countries whose geopolitical borders touch one or more different languages. This helps to facilitate business, government, and everyday communication. Just some examples of EAL contexts outside of the European Union include Jamaica, Singapore, South Africa, India, and Kenya, just to name a few. EAL contexts mirror ESL context preferences for the CLT as a method, but there does tend to be more preference for grammar translation due to students more likely sharing first languages. Lastly, EFL, or English as a Foreign Language, refers to contexts where English is not the dominant language, and it is often learned as a school subject or for very specific purposes. In these contexts, English is rarely encountered outside the classroom. Examples of EFL contexts include China, Russia, Central and South American countries, Middle Eastern countries, etc. In EFL contexts, grammar translation and audiolingual methods dominate. In the EFL context, students overwhelmingly share an L1 and proficiency levels are more stark. CLT, however, is becoming more popular in EFL contexts due to these countries' preference for US and UK native speakers who have often received language training within the ESL context and bring this experience to the EFL classrooms. So why is context important? As stated earlier, context will greatly impact the status of English, what type of English is useful, and consequently, which methods of language teaching could be effective. Once the broad examination of geographical location has been taken into account, the next step then is to narrow the scope of analysis to the specific teaching situation of a language program or course. A teaching situation is the state of teaching and learning circumstances within a context that impact curricular and instructional decision making. In other words, it refers to factors within a language program that are often outside of our control as instructors, and thus we must find ways to work within these factors in order to effectively teach language. A situation analysis, therefore, examines these factors and helps educators to decide how best to deliver language instruction within this set of circumstances. When analyzing a teaching situation, we first look at the location of the language program or course. What are the geographical circumstances that influence the language program? Is it an ESL, EAL, or EFL context? Next, we must determine who are the students the language program serves. Adults bring more experience with language than children and accordingly benefit from more explicit teaching methods such as grammar translation, audiolingual method, and communicative language teaching. Oppositely, children tend to learn better through more naturalistic and interactionist methods such as TPR, CLT, and task-based learning. So after determining who the students are, we then look to what kind of faculty and staff are needed to meet the student needs. Does an English teacher need a particular license, a graduate degree? What experiences should administrative staff bring? ESL contexts tend to require more training and experience on the part of faculty and staff. In EFL contexts, however, many positions only require a TESOL, TEFL, or CELTA certificate, unless teaching within a university context. Then we must consider what resources are available to deliver a language program. What are the funding sources? What technology is available? Do teachers share classrooms or have their own? Is the program public, private, or tuition-based? Once the logistics of the program is considered, we then turn to what kind of curriculum works within the teaching situation. Are there official standards over what and how to teach language? Or does the program or instructor have free range over how and what to teach? Pre-K through 12 ESL contexts tend to always have a set of curriculum standards that govern instruction. You can see the Massachusetts Pre-K through 12 curriculum frameworks available for download in Canvas. Adult ESL, EAL, and EFL contexts tend to have more local control over what to teach, with language proficiency benchmarks dictating instruction rather than a set of curriculum standards. Massachusetts, however, does have a set of adult ESL standards that can be easily adapted for a variety of adult English teaching situations. Having a set of standards can help regulate structure and set goals for instructors and students alike. Lastly, once curriculum has been examined, how are the goals of the program evaluated for quality and fidelity? How does a language program evaluate teaching effectiveness? How does it determine student progress towards their language goals? Pre-K through 12 contexts across the world tend to be more heavily evaluated, while adult contexts tend to be more relaxed, shifting the responsibility of assessing program and student progress more to the students rather than the school or instructional staff. So let's look at an example of a situation analysis. This example is a situation analysis of one of my former employers, the Intensive English program at the University of Central Florida, known as the Center for Multilingual and Multicultural Studies, or CMMS. The first step in a situation analysis is to gather information and facts related to the factors discussed on the previous slide. CMMS is located in Orlando, Florida, and is an ESL program. Orlando is a diverse and highly multilingual area with dozens and dozens of different languages spoken by its local population. CMMS is an intensive ESL program that is attached to the University of Central Florida, which is one of the largest public universities in the United States, offering hundreds of degree programs and serving over 65,000 students. English learners at CMMS come from all over the world and are undergraduate and graduate students for whom English is a second or additional language. The students range in age from 18 and up. CMMS has an instructional staff of about 15 to 20 adjunct ESL instructors who must have at least a master's degree in TESOL or a related field. A program director, assistant director, and a curriculum specialist oversee the logistics and operations of the school. They hire, evaluate, and set curriculum for the program. Support staff of administrative assistants and work-study students help to organize the workflow for administration and instructors. CMMS largely depends on student tuition and university subsidies to pay for its daily operations. The budget is fairly robust, and UCF ensures that the program has the latest technology and comfortable classrooms available to the school. The majority of curriculum materials are provided by CMMS, but some instructors do enjoy bringing in their own materials to supplement the set curriculum. Classes at CMMS last for 50 minutes, and students attend classes full-time, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3 or 4 p.m. depending on their language needs. Since the majority of students are in the United States on a student visa, they are required to be in a full-time schedule of classes in order to stay in the country. Thus, the curriculum centers on academic English and rapidly increasing students' language skills in order to prepare them for university study in English within 1 year time frame. There are a wide variety of classes available at 4 different levels of English proficiency. Program evaluation at CMMS largely centers on teaching effectiveness and curriculum alignment. The assistant director of the program and curriculum specialists perform most of the evaluation process, checking to ensure that weekly lesson plans are turned in and that instructors follow the set curriculum, as well as review the student evaluations of their instructors. Students are routinely tested for progress at the program level using the institutional TOEFL exam, and they are provided course level grades by their instructors. So once you have completed your fact-finding step, it is time to analyze. So reflect on the information you gather and ask, what are the opportunities for language development and acquisition presented by the educational situation? How can these opportunities be maximized? Second, what are the challenges? How can the challenges be overcome? How do these opportunities and challenges shape the ESL or EFL program and curriculum? And how do they impact the teaching and learning of English? Results from a situation analysis help to decide how a language program should run and what the curriculum should offer students. The situation analysis also informs what a needs analysis looks like. You can see Chapter 5 from Permensky and Mihai for more examples. It also decides the specific curriculum scope and sequence, and all the way down to the individual course syllabi. We'll dive more into needs analyses, curriculum, and syllabi later in our course together. So let's go through an example of interpreting and analyzing the information I gathered regarding CMMS. Follow along as I read my interpretations of the opportunities and challenges CMMS faces, as well as my takeaways from these analyses. The IEP's location in Orlando, Florida, at a large university with a variety of resources available, makes it an attractive location for adult English learners wishing to develop college-level English. UCF offers hundreds of degree paths with expedited admissions process after graduating the IEP, and boasts large and well-connected engineering, science, and technology programs due to its proximity to the Kennedy Space Center. The Orlando metropolitan area, with hospitality and tourism as its main industries, and proximity to beaches and warm climate, also makes it attractive for students' leisure time. Hundreds of languages are spoken in the Orlando area. Although Florida only recognizes English as an official language, dozens of other languages, especially Spanish, can routinely be seen and heard throughout Orlando businesses. Being in an ESL context also affords ELs the advantage of being exposed to both social and academic English outside of the classroom. But although UCF serves a large and diverse student population, the university has had challenges integrating English learners at the IEP within the larger university community. Often IEP students and degree-seeking students within the university do not have many opportunities to interact, and at times it feels like they are segregated from the main student body. It is getting better with a more centrally located building on campus, but strides still need to be taken. Additionally, because the Orlando area is so linguistically diverse, there are some instances in which English learners can avoid using English outside of the class if they choose, which has both its advantages and its disadvantages. So my takeaways are as follows. Being housed within the largest university within the U.S. means that the IEP can keep tuition and fees lower than their competition and offer the expedited admissions process, which, if students take advantage of, they have hundreds of degrees they can pursue. The curriculum must take into account that English learners are pursuing a variety of educational goals. Some are intending to obtain a bachelor's degree, some a master's, and others a doctorate, and in a multitude of degree areas. This makes it challenging for the IEP to offer more individualized and specialized English courses. This means teachers must perform their own needs analyses in order to meet the individual English needs of their students. There are never a shortage of field trips and community building activities available for the program and students to take advantage of. There's Disney World, Universal Studios, Daytona Beach, a number of fun activities to do. English learners at the IEP also come from a variety of linguistic backgrounds, and so instructors and curriculum must utilize methods that do not rely on using students' first language for instructional purposes. In regards to staffing and resources, UCF's large student body and robust public funding helps to keep tuition and fees relatively affordable. Housing is routinely available on and off campus, and the campus has also become one of the most technologically advanced campuses in the southeastern United States. As such, Wi-Fi and instructional technology like smartboards, dot cams, computers, flexible seating arrangements, classrooms, and online learning platforms are readily available for teachers, staff, and students. Because these resources are available, there is a large team of administrators, assistants, and instructors available. To teach in the IEP, instructors must have a master's in TESOL or applied linguistics, And additionally, UCF has a solid MA-TESOL program. Therefore, graduate teaching assistants are often available at low cost to round out the staff, helping to keep class sizes small. IEP students also routinely work as administrative assistants and in work-study programs to help offset their own tuition to the IEP or to a UCF degree program. However, because the IEP is a non-degree program, the majority of instructors are often at the adjunct rank, which means they are paid by the number of courses they teach and they do not receive full-time benefits. Their contracts are also limited to the 7-week terms in which they teach. Few opportunities to advance beyond the adjunct rank are available, and they are quite competitive when they do arise. As such, turnover in the instructional staff can be high. Adjunct ranked faculty helps to keep costs low, but sometimes at the expense of stable and fairly compensated instructional staff. A robust package of books, technology, and other curricular resources are provided to instructors, so instructors do bear very little out-of-pocket expenses as compared to other teaching contexts. And while resources keep class size small, this is really helpful for creating a positive learning environment. So program and curriculum at CMMS revolve around how to expeditiously and effectively target EL's acquisition of academic speaking, listening, reading, writing, grammar, vocabulary, and intercultural skills. Curricular pathways are offered for students at the entering, beginning level of English proficiency to the most advanced levels. Depending on English learners' English proficiency at the time of entry, they are tested and given a level to pursue. The goal is for students to, within 1 year, to have developed the English necessary to satisfy U.S. college and university admissions English proficiency requirements. These are often based on a TOEFL score. The courses are offered in isolated language domains, listening, speaking, reading, or writing. It's also offered with integrated skills, where all 4 domains are together, skill development, where we have classes on vocabulary, grammar, or pronunciation, TOEFL and test prep, and they also have classes related to interest exploration, such as business English, engineering English, music, art, drama, literature, etc. Students, as I said before, typically attend classes from 8 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday in order to make that 1-year target. The terms are 7 weeks in length for up to a year, with classes at a full-time job for English learners. It is a fast and intense program, which privileges students who have the financial and time management resources to complete such intense study. As such, few US-based students enroll in the program. For instructors, this also means needing to teach a lot in a relatively short amount of time. Administrators mediate this by limiting instructors to routinely teaching the same courses over and over again, which, while this helps reduce the amount of time instructors have to prep courses, it also leads to not as much time to build a sense of classroom community, because instructors may not get to spend more than just 7 weeks with certain students. So my takeaways. The curriculum standards are very much set by the IEP and don't really change that much. It is a fast-paced and intensive program, and the curriculum design requires a mix of grammar translation and a communicative language teaching methods in order to deliver effective lessons. The grammar translation method employs explicit language teaching techniques that help English learners to access rules and vocabulary very quickly, while CLT helps to keep lessons engaging and focused on the real-world functions of academic English that the ELs will need at the college-level English medium classroom. Because classes are split by proficiency level, the program entry testing is key to ensuring that English learners are placed in a level and given a pathway that is appropriate for their needs. Lastly, while having students at relatively the same proficiency level within a class is helpful for lesson planning, instructors will not have a variety of proficiency levels in the classroom to make mixed level groups that can help students to negotiate meaning. This means there is more reliance on the teacher being the language expert in the room. In terms of evaluation and assessment, because there's a relatively large teaching staff, short terms, and fewer administrators, teacher evaluations are largely conducted through the instructor's ability to submit quality weekly lesson plans that adhere to the curriculum, presided over by the curriculum specialist, and from the student perspective. Students are routinely assessed via the institutional TOEFL standardized test upon entry to the IEP. This determines their program, and at the end of a proficiency level to determine if they are ready to move up a level. As such, the assessment matches what U.S. college and university admissions offices use to admit English learners. Instructors also provide student grades within each of their 7-week terms. Because students largely play out of pocket, students can repeat classes as much as they need to, which does help with language development. But a large student body makes standardized testing mandatory for time's sake, and progress is largely determined by the standardized tests and not course grades. As such, instructor grades are rather informal and often do not impact students' programs all that much. Consequently, instructors often state that their input and judgments are not valued. Students also get frustrated with or become complacent with taking standardized tests over and over and over again. Teacher evaluations also must take into account that student perceptions and written lesson plans can only tell administrators so much about how well instruction is being delivered to students. This could be better rounded out with observations of teachers' classes. So my takeaways. Using standardized assessments in students' language progress privileges what students learn through the grammar translation portions of class, since language accuracy is how standardized tests often operate, over the skills that they gain through the communicative language teaching portions of class, which these portions tend to be more meaning-based. Instructors need to take this into account when planning their lessons for these courses. Secondly, challenges always exist in evaluating teacher effectiveness, and it seems that administrative staff and time constraints prevent more formal teacher observations that might give more targeted feedback to instructors from taking place. Localized control over evaluation and assessment is advantageous to developing a curriculum that uniquely meets the needs of this specific teaching context. So, in summary, performing situation analysis within specific educational contexts provides us with the broad goals and logistics for making an English program successful. However, as student populations shift, as new assessment standards, books, technology routinely become available, as resources increase and decrease depending on funding, and as administrators, staff, and instructors come and go, situation analyses should not be a one-time event within a particular teaching situation. Situation analyses, whether a formal or informal process, should be recurring and reflective. Doing so helps language programs and educators know how to set priorities, meet students' language needs, and improve their practices. Therefore, your task for this week is to spend 1 hour gathering information on a teaching situation, and then spend 1 hour analyzing the information in regards to the opportunities and challenges for language teaching and learning within that situation. To add to the process, you may choose to also skim and scan the curriculum frameworks for a pre-K through 12 or adult context in Massachusetts. You can find these curriculum frameworks available in Canvas. You might also reflect on chapters 1 and 2 in the Lewis and Hill textbook for best practices in language teaching and learning. You may also want to look back at our PowerPoint from the first night of class to review the ESL, EFL teaching methods. Remember, you have 3 options available to you for collecting data for a situation analysis. You may interview an administrator, an instructor, or observe a class to see how language teaching and learning is shaped by its context. Then analyze the information in regards to the opportunities and challenges of location, student populations, staffing, resources, curriculum, and evaluation. Your analysis does not need to be in written form and can occur as you gather facts and information. Lastly, type up 5 to 10 takeaways following my examples in this presentation to post to Canvas and to share in our next face-to-face class. Enjoy!